Bill Parcells used to tell me this all the time. You can go from the outhouse to the penthouse in a matter of 7 days, or the penthouse to the outhouse in a matter of 7 days. It's not 7 anymore. We used to play every Sunday. Now they play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Family, what's good? Welcome back. Episode 4 of the Swagu Podcast. I'm excited today. I'm super excited today. Today will be our first guest. I have the incomparable Inky Johnson that's going to come through and speak with us, give us a little motivation. We're going to talk a little football, talk a little life. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be exciting. But I got to get into what I do and what I love, and I got to review the Buffalo Bills versus Miami Dolphins game that we watched last night. Now, it's a lot of layers to this game. And obviously, we know the conversation coming off of this game, the highest level of concern. But I'm going to get into the game first, and then I'm gonna talk about Tua Tagovailoa and his unfortunate circumstances with concussions and a lot of talk going on around that now. So, man, I hate it. Golly. I know I got to get to the topic, but I'm just having a moment right now of just hating that for him. But anyway, let me get to this Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, because I still got a job to do. And my job is to make sure y'all are highly informed on how I'm feeling about these games, what I saw, what I think I saw, and what I hope to see going forward. Buffalo last night was dominant. Let's just get that out in the open right now. Buffalo was dominant last night. Buffalo was a team that I believe it's more suited, believe it or not, to make a run at potentially getting deep down into the AFC playoffs and potentially having a chance to win a Super Bowl. Now, this defense is depleted. So you would think. A lot of guys stepped up last night to the tune of 3 interceptions, caused some negative plays. We saw Big Ed Oliver with a sack that was critical on 4th down. A lot of things happened positively for the Buffalo Bills. But the most positive thing that you can pull out of that game is the fact that their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, is absolutely in his bag right now. He is calling football games to alleviate pressure from Josh Allen having to be Superman. And that, for a while, has been what people has asked for. So you say, give you an example, Swagu. I'm glad you asked about that, because I am. If you don't know the name James Cook, the running back for the Buffalo Bills, you're going to be introduced to him this year. Younger brother of Dalvin Cook, who we all know was phenomenal in his heyday. I don't even want to say heyday. The man's still in the league. That's disrespectful. My bad, Dalvin. I'm old. Forgive me. In his prime, I think it's safe to say that Dalvin ain't in his prime no more. But his brother James Cook is starting to ascend as one of these backs that you can absolutely devastate defenses with. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He's a runner in between the tackles. He's a runner on the outside of the line of scrimmage. He looks like the complete 1 through 3 down back. He had a phenomenal night last night. Took it to the crib on handoffs. Was important in the passing game. Josh is starting to become him and Josh connection is starting to become one of them ones where you see it like McCaffrey and Purdy. Like we saw the week 1 game with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. It's becoming one of them tandems, man. And it looks good. And it bodes well for the Buffalo Bills because, like I said before, you cannot rely on Josh Allen being Josh Allen for 4 quarters and think you're going to wash yourself into a Super Bowl or an AFC championship. And I'm most proud of the Buffalo Bills and Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator, for recognizing that. Now on the other side, great job, Buffalo. On the other side with Miami. Oh, boy. Listen, there was some things of concern that I saw the first week when the Miami Dolphins took on the Jacksonville Jaguars. There was some concern, right? There was some touchdowns given up. Miami was fortunate, came back, made the plays to come back, but ultimately, a lot of that stuff reared its ugly head again. Explosive plays were given up. Plays that extended were able to become big plays, as we saw Josh Allen roll to his right, throw the ball downfield. And I'm just concerned, man. I'm concerned with Miami. I'm concerned with their defense. And they got some good football players on that side of the ball, but it just doesn't look like a lot of continuity right now. It doesn't look like they have a philosophy or they understand even who they are identity-wise, which is very unfortunate. It's week 2. I don't want to press the panic button right now, but the panic button is getting touched. I'm touching the panic button for Miami. Defense. Offensively, we know they can be explosive. We know they can score at any time. Last night was Buffalo just Buffalo just got their number, man. I think it's safe to say that the Buffalo Bills just has Miami's number. It's been some highly competitive games. They've went back and forth in some games. But right now, it's safe to say that Buffalo got their number. Yo, by the way, side note, I'm drinking black coffee now because I'm trying to take all the stuff away from it, and that's what you saw me just do. I'm going to keep doing it, though. But, ooh. So Miami has left me with some concern on week 2. And like I said, I'm not pressing the button, but I'm touching the button. There's a lot of things left to be desired. We know Tyreek Hill is out there. We know Jalen Waddle is out there. Devon Achane played last night, which was a great sign. There were some questions about his availability. We saw him make some plays. Everything wasn't awful for the Miami Dolphins, but it was enough to bring concern from a football standpoint. That's my review of the game. I'm not getting into deep X's and O's about the game. Y'all watched the game. It wasn't a good night for Miami. Wasn't a good night for the Dolphins, football-wise. But that's why this league is the greatest league on earth. Because redemption can happen in a matter of 7 days. Bill Parcells used to tell me this all the time. You can go from the outhouse to the penthouse in a matter of 7 days, or the penthouse to the outhouse in a matter of 7 days. It's not 7 anymore. We used to play every Sunday. Now they play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's how you play now, every day. So it could be 3 days you go from the penthouse to the outhouse, 4 days. I'm going to keep 7 days because I like to still think about the NFL Sunday to Sunday, except Monday. Monday is the greatest night on football in the NFL, Monday Night Football. I'm biased, so what? But yeah, that was my review of the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. A lot of football left to play. I don't want anybody to hit the panic button, but there's a lot of things going on in Miami that that are of concern. And I got a feeling that you all know what I'm talking about. A lot of things of concern, but football is one thing, life is another. Like I said, life. Y'all, I was sad last night, real talk. I was sad, I was scared. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. If you don't, last night during the Miami Dolphins Buffalo Bills game, we saw Tua, the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, suffer a concussion. Now there's a history there because it's been some times when we've seen Tua have concussions laid out on the field, grave concern, and trying to, let me say this, last year, Tua had concussion, and I brought it up that he had to really think about his career, but not only his career, his life. And I think now, things happen, situations occur, football It's football, but there's also this deep feeling in the pit of your stomach that says we have to have this conversation, even though it's not something you want to have with such a young player, such a promising career ahead of him. But last night, something happened with the concussion, obviously, and I'm going to get into that. But last night, something happened with the response of Mike McDaniels when Tua was walking off the field, when he wrapped his arm around him and kissed him on the forehead. Now, one thing is the relationship between these two are as pure as it gets. They really are. They really give you a sense of family when you talk, when one is talking about the other or the other is talking about the other. So there's a relationship there beyond the football field, which is super dope, which is not a normal occurrence when you start talking about an NFL head coach with his players. Everybody assumes that the quarterback and the head coach got to have a great relationship. That's not always the case in the NFL locker room. They work together, they manage, but it's not always the case that a relationship becomes like that. The one that Mike McDaniels, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, has with Tua, the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. But him wrapping his arm around Tua and kissing him on the forehead was symbolic for me. And it made the concussion situation, it made Tua having a concussion resonate from the standpoint of it looked like a concerned family member, if you follow me on that. It looked like more concern than, hey, man, unfortunately, you can't play no more. It's okay. Team, we're going to go out and we're going to. It looked more like, how long can I subject, or should I watch you be subjected to this? That's my feeling. That's my opinion. That's what I read from the response of Mike McDaniels to Tua. Call it dramatic, call it non-dramatic. But I know when you see a player that you have a lot of love for, a tremendous amount of respect, go down again with a concussion after the history of him having concussions, there's something in that relationship that goes beyond the field that makes you respond in a way like his family would, like his mother or his father or his brother or somebody that's grown up with him would. And to me, that was the response from Mike McDaniel. I respect Mike McDaniel for that. I like Mike McDaniel. I think he's one of those coaches in the NFL. If you talk to the players per man, that he has a healthy respect for them and what they do, and vice versa. So to me, his head coach looked like a concerned family member more so than a head coach that's just disappointed and in his feelings about, not in a bad way, about what he just saw happen to his starting quarterback. It was more than that. I think it was more than that. Which for me raises a level of concern when we start having conversations about Tua's future. Here's what happened. On the play, if you didn't watch the game, Tua scrambles, he leaves the pocket, he makes contact with Damar Hamlin. It looked like Damar was, because defensive players are really, now this is how they have to play the game. Damar wasn't coming up to deliver a crazy blow. He was coming up to just get Tua on the ground. Tua ducked his head. Head went into the midsection, I believe, of Damar Hamlin. You could see his neck and head crunch up, and he was out. And I think I watched the doctor call it, when your arm is stuck up, it's a fencing pose. And that is when I was like, oh my God, it has happened again. And then as a former player, as a guy that has a tremendous amount of respect for these players that's out there on the field, knowing how tough it is to play football, knowing how physical it is, I cannot lie to y'all, family. It ran through my mind that, Tua, you got to think about it, man. Oh, I hate to say it. Man just got rewarded a new contract because he played well. You got to think about it, bro. And y'all asking think about what? Think about your future, man. And if this game is going to cost you a large majority of your life, which is when you're not playing the game. Is it going to affect you as you go on forward, as you raise kids and you and your beautiful wife, as you have quality of life, as you think about all of those things that are phenomenal and happy? I'm in retirement right now. It is great. I got a great job. I work in television. I got a family. I'm watching my kids grow up. And when you're young, those are things that you don't think about because you're playing the game. You're trying to support your family. You're trying to put them in the best situation possible financially. But you got to think about it. Because of the sheer amount of concussions and the way that they've looked, it's something that's got to be on your mind. I'll put myself in this position. If I was a family member of Tua, we would call a family meeting and we would have a conversation. And what Tua is going to say, because I know him, he's a competitor, he's going to say, man, I ain't hanging it up. I'm going to just go through the proper steps, make sure I'm all the way right before I get back on the field. That's what, I'm not even going to say that's what football players do. We've had dudes leave the NFL because they were like, I don't want to subject myself to this anymore. So I'm not going to throw us all in this monolith like we would just consistently fight through things that could cost us the rest of our way. But as a family member, I would ask Tua, if we were having that conversation and that was his response, I would ask him, take some time to really think about the game and how much you love the game, but also that standard that your family is going to ask you to be at when you get done playing the game. It's a real thing, family. Golly, man. It's a real thing. It's unfortunate, but it's a real thing. And that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about we've seen Tua in some of the worst positions when it comes to concussions. I think as just one individual than we've seen anybody else in this league. And it's been a consistent thing now enough. And this too. And this is what we need to do on the Swagu Podcast. We need to have a doctor. And I'm sure a doctor would say one is too many, but three that I know of, three just, it feels like a lot. And I know what some people go, well, old school, man, dudes used to have. That's the problem. We got more information now. We understand the effect that these things have on you. We understand the long-term effect that these concussions have on you. I just can't help but think about it. Now, that was an introduction of these new things that people put on their helmet called guardian caps. And it's supposed to reduce the amount of impact that your head makes, obviously, on a tackle, even hitting on the ground. That's an option. For Tua, you know, I don't expect Tua to say, you know what, I'm going to hang my career up. But I think it's something that he really needs to think about going forward, how he wants to, if he's going to come back, how he going to manage it. Or if he decides to leave, I don't think anybody can blame him. But the guardian caps have been introduced. You know, a lot of research being done. I think the NFL took a step with the guardian cap to make sure guys are more protected. And some guys are wearing it during the season. The problem is he can put on a guardian cap today. It still don't take away that he's already had 3 concussions. That's there. That is already imprinted on his brain. Literally 3 that I know of since he's been in the league. So protection is one thing as far as making sure that if he comes back, and I think he will, if and when he comes back, you put the guardian cap on. How do you protect yourself? The other reality is he's already had 3 concussions. Long term. Got to think about the long term. Here and in the now, it's the season. It's week 2. Tua can go through his concussion protocol. A couple weeks, he could be back to play. The what ifs in the NFL, I try to stay away from, even when I was playing. What if it happened again? What if it happened again? Problem is, again, y'all, it's already 3. I'm concerned for Tua, man. Great dude. Good quarterback. Just got life-changing money, signed a new contract. Beautiful family. I'm just tired of seeing the young man in these situations. I mean, I think if you play the game, if you cover the game, if you know Tua, I think you're just tired of seeing him in these situations. And because of that fatigue of seeing him in those compromised, not knowing how he gonna shake back, you got to think to yourself, when's enough? Like I said last night, man, Tua, praying for you. I'm praying for your discernment. I'm praying that you take this situation and you really think about it. You have conversations with the most important people in your life. Because regardless of what we say, regardless of what we think should happen, regardless of how we feel about the situation, he's actually going through it, and his family and his closest people are the ones that really are going to have these conversations with him, and he's ultimately going to have to make a determination on the situation that he's in and how he wants to go forward about it. Again, wouldn't be shocked if Tua said, "Nah, I'm playing. I'm just gonna go through however long it takes for me to get right." And I don't think anybody would blame him. But these conversations are hard and they need to be real, and everything need to be laid out on the table. That just would be my advice. I'm not into his immediate family. I'm not in his immediate circle. But if I was talking to him about what's going on with him and his career and these concussions that we've seen him have, we would have to have a uncomfortable conversation about what the future should look like. And I think my opinion would be completely different from his, based on the information that we have now of what multiple concussions can do to you going forward in your future. I hope all that's avoided. And I'm not necessarily saying that he should stop playing for that to be avoided. I'm just hoping that the 3 that he's had that I know of now don't cost him a quality of life later on, when you realize, because I got a 17, a 15, and an 11-year-old, when you realize how important it is to be there for them completely, mind, body, and soul. This got me in my feelings, y'all, because I hate to see it, and I know how much the young man loved playing football. But I also know at times in life we got to make difficult decisions because it's what's best. Mad love to you, Tua. I hope the answers and the decisions that you make, you 100% with them. But more importantly, man, get better, get healthy. Take your time, big dog.
That's the true nature of a competitor, right? A competitor just don't go to people that he can beat. There ain't no competitor. The cat that's on the playground just beating up people that he know he can beat. You ain't tough. The competitor is the cat that go to cats and you taste a little blood, you get knocked down, he get the best of you, you get the best of him. That's the SEC. That's how you compete and that's how you play ball.
Family, you see this smile on my face because I'm excited. And more than excited, I'm humbled because I consider this dude family. You know, we in an era where you can watch people from a distance and you know that the vibe is right. And you can consider them a brother, a cousin. And that's how I feel about the incomparable Inky Johnson. Now, if you don't know Ink, I'm going to call him Ink because we family. He is, in my opinion, the most prolific motivational speaker on earth. There has been times in my life where I've needed to hear a message or a word, and I've tapped into something that Ink has dropped. I've tapped into something that he said, And it has literally shifted me and made me think about a situation I'm in completely different. Ink has a master of psychology from the University of Tennessee. He's a former SEC gridiron superstar. But more importantly, a great family man. And I think it's important for every time that I introduce my brothers to let y'all know the impact that they're making in their own household as they are making impact in the world. I could go on for days introducing my guy. He knows the love is real. Welcome, Inky Johnson, to the Swagu Podcast. I'm clapping, man. What's going on, brother?
My God, man. I'm honored. I'm humbled. Like I told you, man, I rock with you the long way, man.
Yes, sir.
Swagu, you my guy, man. It's an honor.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. The host of Serendipity Podcast as well. You can catch him on all platforms, on YouTube as well. It's some real conversations going on, and I love it. Ink, I'm gonna get straight to it, man, because I'm excited. I barely can contain myself. I got so many questions to ask you. You've seen so many things, done so many things. The first question I want to ask you, Ink, is where do you find your inspiration? And man, where do you summon up the energy to have and also impart that inspiration and that motivation onto others? Where does that come from, and where did that come from for you?
Yeah, I summon my inspiration, Swagu, man, from a lot of different just people, situations, circumstances. Like I've always felt like my whole life, Swagu, a lot of people have helped me, man, have done things for me when they didn't have to, have seen things in me when I didn't see them in myself. And I've always been grateful for that. And so even when I got to the space and place to where I felt as if I had something to share, something to give, something to pour into, something to add value to different environments and different people's lives, I was just doing it as an extension of what had been given to me. And so it was never so much of, man, I'm gonna go out into the world and I'm gonna do this. It was more so the thought process of, hey, man, this is what people did for me. This is how people showed me to live. This is how people showed me to treat people. The law of reciprocity. In life, you get what you give. And so for me, man, it's always been about, if somebody did something for me in my younger years, when I felt as if I got in a position to just share, sow seeds, add value, I was just doing it as an extension, and still doing it as an extension of what was done for me as a young cat coming up in Atlanta, experiencing different things.
See, to me, Ink, that's amazing, because, you know, for all of you that don't know Ink suffered an injury that could have took his life playing the game that he loved. And I know a lot of times you talk about adversity and how you bounce back from that. Ink, take me through that time. What was the injury? What actually happened? You know, I know it was in a game. I know it was you being Inky Johnson and bringing hat.
No doubt.
But talk to me about that injury, man, and how it transpired, how it happened.
Yeah, the wild thing about my injury was, I always tell people, man, like, I prepared the exact same way. I did everything. I'm a routine guy a lot of times, so my routine was the same. Wore the same pads. Everything, man, was the exact same. We were playing against Air Force. You know, tough group, disciplined group. Come in running that triple option. You don't see it every week in the SEC. Yep. Fourth quarter of the game, Swagu, we in a dogfight. You know, we break the huddle. It's a little bit over 2 minutes left. They quarterback drop back. We in quarters coverage. No, I'm a corner at the time. They telling us everything back to front. Quarterback throw a pass. One of their guys catch it. I go to make a routine tackle. And as soon as I hit him, Swagu, it seemed as if every breath in my body left. I had never felt that before, like ever. And I had been in a lot harder collisions.
Yeah.
When my body hit the ground, man, blacked out. When I came to, teammates standing over me and they just saying, let's go, get up, let's rock. I'm like, bro, I can't. And it was a shock going from the crown of my head to the bottom of my feet. And I'll never forget, they brought the spine board out, put me on the spine board. They get me off the field, get me to the hospital, run some tests. And when they bring me back in the room at the hospital, I'll never forget my mom come in, she speak to me, dad, and when they exit the room, a few minutes later, doctor comes jogging in my direction, and he's saying in the elevated pitch to the other people, like, hey man, get in here, we got to rush this guy back to emergency surgery. Like he could possibly lose his life. And I'm like, what happened? And he said, when we looked at the test, we noticed you ruptured your main artery, your subclavian artery in your chest. You're bleeding internally. So we got to rush you back and take the main vein out of your left leg, plug it into your chest in order to save your life. And the next morning I woke up, had 6 cuts down my left eye, 1 cut across the left side of my neck, 1 across the right, twice through my right ribs, cut out my right pec, bottom of my armpit to the bottom of my hand, 350 staples in my body, bandaged from my arm down to my knees. And the medical term for my injury, Swagu, is I had a brachial plexus avulsion, and it ended up paralyzing my right arm and hand, and it ended my career. Yeah.
And it started one of the greatest careers ever, man. I also want to let you know, bro, that there is a generation now of young athletes, young men, young women, these people that you are talking to and impacting, that you really changing their lives, bro. So
Appreciate that.
you used something that could have taken you out literally to give people life. And that brings me to this question, Ink. When you are at the University of Tennessee, and like you did, and like I've heard you say, you experiencing the success and all the things that football can bring, and then you suffer that injury and you have to literally fight for your life, and you're going through that period. Who are those people? Because you just mentioned having people. Who are those people that were there with you going through step A to Z to get to where you are now?
Yeah, man, quite naturally, Swagu, my mom, my dad, my little league coach, little league teacher, family members, the team trainers, chaplain, my coach Fulmer at the time, my boys, you know what I'm saying, the teammates, the guys. But I would say the two most important people during that time period when I got injured, almost lost my life, and just had to adapt to a new normal. My arm being paralyzed overnight, they had to take the main vein out of my left leg, plug it into my chest because I ruptured the main artery in my chest. And so it was just adapting to a new normal. And the two main people would be my mother and my father, and seeing them function in an environment together to address problems, adversity, opposition, and just challenges that we hadn't faced before, and seeing them work together, because I didn't come up in the house with my mother and my father. And so for me, Swago, I seen them approach a lot of situations, but I seen them approach a lot of situations independently.
Independent, yeah.
This was my first time seeing my mother and my father navigate a situation with their son together, right? And seeing them put certain things to the side, seeing them operate a certain type of way, just for my best interest. At the time, I was 20 years old. And so that really impacted me in a great way. And I've always been the one, man, I just want to represent my folks well. You know what I'm saying? No matter what the situation is, I was always raised, man, like you represent your people in the right way. And so for me, even when I encountered the injury, yeah, it was tough. Yeah, it was the toughest thing I'd ever been through in my life, but I still wanted to represent my people well. And so the things that they were showing to me in that moment, man, it helped me stay the course. It helped me navigate it, and it helped me look at it with the right perspective.
Dude, selfless. And I think that's what a lot of people think about when they listen to you, when they see you imparting wisdom and motivate. And let me ask you this, man. And I sometimes have a difficult time with the word motivation.
No question.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because Ink, I'm gonna keep it 100. Ink, I get motivated to go to the gym.
Right.
And then after 6 days when my knees and stuff start hurting, bro, I'm I ain't motivated no more.
No doubt.
And you talk about the sustainability of whatever that opposition becomes. You got to figure out, if it's too big for you to handle, or you got to figure out a way to go through it, around
Absolutely.
it, over it.
Yeah.
What is your take on motivation as opposed to what perseverance, or another word that we could attach to longevity of consistency?
No doubt. Hey, Swagu, the crazy thing is, bro, I ain't never said this before. I ain't never told nobody this, right? And I rock with you, and I agree with you on the word motivation, right?
Okay,
Because
okay.
the only reason, even my Instagram name being Inky Johnson Motivate. So I'm gonna tell you how that happened. My Instagram name was just Inky Johnson, right?
Yep.
So I go to Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm speaking to Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway.
Berkshire.
And
yep.
I'm with a guy, and we're about to do some stuff on social media, and I try to log into my Instagram, and it gets hacked. Dude, hack my Instagram, right? Take my name, everything, right? This was back years ago. And so one of my guys that was helping me with my social media, I was just like, man, you know what? Don't worry about it. Give it a break. He just creates an account, and then he starts posting. I wasn't even posting at the time.
Okay.
Because somebody took my account. So he created the name Inky Johnson Motivate. It got a little traction. And he was like, here, man, I got you an account, got some traction. I was like, cool, man. Like, can I get my name back? And at the time, I couldn't get my name back. But the account was Inky Johnson Motivate. So we just rock with it. But I'm one of inspiration, right? I think motivation is important, but I think the one that supersedes it all is discipline. And I think you being a former athlete, me being a former athlete, you can get motivated. Motivated is the starter, right? It's when you crank the car up. But I think when you go on the journey, right, and you encounter certain things in life, that discipline has to kick in, because that discipline is the thing that helps you supersede the opposition, the adversity, the challenges. When you don't feel like it, I always say to people, man, a champion is built on the other side of I don't feel like it, right? Sir. Because we all have moments and times where we don't feel like it. And sometimes motivation ain't enough, right? Because we all get motivated, but we have to tap into that discipline. Not saying that motivation isn't important. It's important to play its role. But I think discipline is that trump card to keep us going.
Ink, you the husband to beautiful wife Allison, 2 kids, Jada and Ink Jr. Ink, I have a hard time with social media with my kids, bro.
No doubt.
And we public figures, bro. We in the public eye. People know, a lot professionally how we moving. Man, talk to me, bro. I'm struggling with it. Because we grew up in a generation before social media. It started coming along while we were growing up, but it's almost like your kid. You want to be. There's some foundational stuff as a parent that I'm never gonna get away from. No respecting yourself, respect for people that's older than you, seeking out all of those foundational principles. Ink. We were a spatter-rod family.
No doubt.
But with that being said, man, you also know that they growing up in a different generation. So, and I know your kids are young, but you out here and you talk to many athletes, you talk to adults. Bro, talk to me about Ink. I struggle with it, bro. I struggle with the social media. But just talk to me about how you managing that, man, with even when you are inspiring people, but also within your own household, and not let that become your God per se.
Yeah. Nah, I'm with you, man. I struggle with it. I think like the thing about social media, like one of the benefits of it, if I could say benefits, is it sparks great dialogue.
Absolutely.
About different situations, different things that happen, different encounters, curiosity with kids, to where you can confront certain things that may not naturally come up in the dialogue with a kid that's a teenager, or how the young cats are nowadays. You can ask them a question, how you doing, man? I'm good. Cool. So what does that mean?
What that mean? Right? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that mean? I'm good. All right, cool. What does that mean?
Yeah.
But then they can bring you something on social media that they saw, something they see on a different platform, and it could be a situation to where now you can really dig deep and see, okay, let me see what type of thought process this young cat got based upon the situation that they see on social media. And so I always try to treat it as, all right, man, it's a tool. I know it's a lot of landmines out there on that social media that you got to be careful when you navigate. But with my young people in my household, I try to treat it as a tool. Like, all right, man, if you see something that sparks curiosity, if you see something that you got a question about, cool, be open. Let's talk about it. Because it's like at my kids' school one time, Swagu, they was like, they had a parent meeting. They was like, we're going to take all the phones from the kids. We're going to do this and do that. I was like, why y'all going to do that? They was like, because we want them off the phone. I said, man, these kids going to find a way to get to that phone and do what they do, man. Like, they going to find a way. They smart. They going to find a way to navigate it. So how about we create different pathways to just have dialogue about the things that they tap into and they're curious about. That way, we can use levels of reverse psychology, see how they think, see their perspective, their perception on certain things, and we can navigate and use it as a teaching tool. Because we can't go away from it, because that's the world, like you said, that's the world that we live in. And the world we came up in, we wasn't encountering all of that type of stuff. And so now, man, trying to navigate it.
It's important, man. I'm glad you said that, because sometimes, man, like, especially with my oldest daughter and my son who's 17 and 15, I don't want to always be the dude saying, well, back in my day. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way we did it, y'all crazy. Y'all should be, because I tell them all the time, I'm sure, like, my mother lives with us. And I'm sure sometime my mom looked at me when I was 16, 17, like, what the hell is wrong with this boy? Like, what is he doing?
Mine too.
Yeah, dude. So I'm trying to find, to your point, I'm trying to find a happy medium. I like how you phrase that, is we got to tap into their thought process behind it and still steer them with that foundational stuff.
No doubt.
So when it comes to you traveling, man, like crazy schedule.
Yeah.
Loving your work. I talk to people about this all the time. Ink, I think a lot of your impact has been because people know you love your work, and it looks like your life's work. And Ink, let's be real on here, because you know me, you know how I am.
Yeah, no question.
Everybody that's having success ain't loving what they doing, bro.
That's a fact.
How do you feel about this journey you've been on, becoming Inky Johnson, a guy that has inspired, has left footprint in a lot of areas, and also is continuing to build? And how does that resonate with you, man? Are you loving the journey? Do you feel energized by the journey? Like, talk to me about that, man.
Yeah, man. Swagu, September 9th this year was my 18-year anniversary from the date of my injury. And a cat asked me, man, he was just like, man, with the journey, where you are now, life, how things have transpired, like, what's your thought process? Similar to what you're asking. And I was like, man, I'm just grateful, man, because it was a point in time in my life, Swagu, like, I wanted to play football. Like, I chose football. I didn't want to speak. Like, I never saw that as something that, I would one day be doing. And so the way things have transpired, and I also understand, Swagu, like, a cat ain't got to listen to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, people got their kids, their family. Ain't nobody got to stop and say, man, let me listen to Ink. Let me listen to this speech. Let me listen, to this story. Ain't nobody got to listen to me, because in the world, everybody goes through what they go through. Everybody get through it and navigate it differently. And I respect that. Like, my mom used to tell me coming up, Ink, the world don't owe you nothing, man. Like, if you want to go make something happen, go do it. And so even with the work that I do, one of my prayers when I first started and said, okay, man, I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to really do this. Like, when I stopped fighting it, when I stopped trying to not do it, I was like, God, like, let me touch a family. Like, let me put out content that a father, a mother can discuss with their children if they at the table eating dinner. Wow. Let me put out content that can penetrate everybody in the household, that can create dialogue. That was one of my prayers, man. And so when I see that happen, it's confirmation and it inspires me. But also, Swagu, I have to be careful, because I love my work and I'm grateful to be able to do my work, but I always have to be careful that I'm not the individual that's giving the world the best of me and giving my family the rest of me.
The rest of me.
You know what I'm
Dude,
saying?
yes.
And so I made mistakes early in my career to where I would run, speak, go out, serve the world, come home, do certain things a certain type of way. And I made mistakes, which I'm grateful for because I was able to learn from it. And I feel like it made me better. But I love my work. I'm grateful for my work, but I'm also interconnected to my family, and I love them and try to make them understand the importance of my work. And I try to involve them in my work as much as possible so they can see, okay, man, I see why Pop's rolling out to speak to them. And sometimes we go on trips together, man, but I'm grateful, Swagu. I'm grateful,
Dude,
man.
I see it, bro. Like when like I said, when you're in the public eye and you're doing it, and you watching your peers have success, man, I think it's like a undertone of guys like ourselves in this position. You kind of get a sense of who enjoying it and who doing it for a check.
No question.
And I thought it was important to ask you that question because I think a lot of people, man, sometimes, like you said, we giving everything out here and we suffering at the crib, but we suffering when we on those plane rides or stuff like that. Ink, I wanted to get to this too, man. Like you are so intertwined now in sports. And obviously we on ESPN Sports Podcast, so we're going to get to it a little bit. But I also want to talk about the impact that you've made in so many locker rooms, so many team meeting rooms, having these conversations with men and women. Ink, what's the thing that you think resonates with these athletes more? Is there one sentiment or feeling that resonates more when you're talking to these athletes, one common theme that they come up and talk to you about than the other?
Yeah, I think it's just a gut check, Swagu, when I go and I stand before them that, hey, man, don't take this game for granted, right? Because when you look at a cat like you look at a cat like me that played ball, at these universities, sitting in those meeting rooms, and then the thing that happened to me, right? And how quickly my life changed. And it's one thing to tell a cat, hey, man, don't take the game for granted. Give everything you got to it. Play every play like it's your last play. And then when you see somebody that something has happened to that played the game that way, it's almost like it reshapes your perspective and it puts you in a different space and place with your disposition about what you're a part of. And so for me, man, when I step in a room, I think it gives me credibility because I played, but also what happened and how it happened. I think it's a joke to these young cats' perspective that, hey, man, maybe I do need to play this game in such a way to where I give everything I got to it. Maybe I do need to go out to that practice field. Maybe I do need to appreciate the people in this facility, because when I stand before them, I think that's what I represent to them, universally.
What would Inky Johnson have told Inky Johnson that got injured and almost lost his life in the hospital in recovery? What would the Inky Johnson today have told that Inky Johnson then?
Enjoy the journey a lot more. And I was so hell bent and serious on just trying to make it, Swagu, whatever that means. You know what I'm saying? Just so hell bent on trying to make it, to do this or do that. And I didn't always enjoy it, and it still didn't happen necessarily the way that I thought it would. And so the thing that if I could speak to my younger self, and I tell young athletes this all the time, I say, man, enjoy it. Appreciate every facet of the journey, ups, downs, successes, failures, wins, losses, because you need all of that. It's a culmination of all of that that makes us who we are as people, right? We can't just say, oh, man, I want all the great moments. Then you'll be hollow as a person because you don't have any L's, right? So now your perception and perspective about life is jaded. And so if I could go back to my younger self, man, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, Swagu. I was just so hell-bent on trying to make it, man. And when I got injured, it didn't hit me until a few years later when I was just going back and taking inventory. I was like, Ink, you should have enjoyed it a lot more, man. You didn't always appreciate every facet of the journey, bro.
And I think it's important. Ink, that a lot of times when we have the conversations and, you know, you and I, guys like us, we get together and we talk about the successes, we talk about the failures as well, but we living in a moment where the success is what people see and it's what they gravitate to, and they want to get a piece of it. And how I do this, how I do that. How do you manage mentoring, bro? You just talked about your injury and how you had to come and fight back out of that. How do you manage your energy that you're given? It's a difference in giving a speech.
Absolutely.
And mentoring.
Absolutely.
And you mentored, unbeknownst to you, you mentored me in a lot of situations, man, especially when I'm making decisions about consistency and longevity. How do you manage that mentoring role with guys you come in contact with that you feel like you have the capacity to give that to?
You know, Swagu, man, it's interesting, man. Like, I found, like, even when I was younger coming up and even present day, the most effective mentorship that I've ever had and still have into present day is, you know, people that listen. You know, I do a lot of listening. I might ask a question here or there. It's just like I deal with my children. Oftentimes, I don't want to tell them what to think. I want to teach them how to think. You know what I'm saying? In terms of when they encounter situations. And so even when it comes to the mentoring aspect, I try my best to listen, to be a decent listener, because oftentimes I feel like if you listen well enough, you know, a person to share with you what's important to them, how they operate, how they navigate, and you ask and you pose questions that just serve as a mirror, right? A reflection of what's important to that person, you know, because I tell people all the time, even in my speaking, like, I don't travel and try to tell people how to do what they do, Swagu. Like, I'm not that type of speaker, because a lot of times in the industry, people look at people that speak, mentor, whatever, as standing up and speaking at people or trying to tell people how to do what they do. I don't speak that way, right? I'm more so of a guy that takes information, process it, listen, and just pose questions that serve as a mirror. Like, it's just like when we play ball. You know, when we play ball, you ask a cat, what's important to him? Like, bro, what you playing for? What's important to you? I'm trying to do this for my family. And when times get tough, times get hard, you just serve as a reminder, as a mirror. Hey, bro, didn't you say you're trying to do this? Ain't you trying to accomplish this? Not trying to tell them what to do, just reminding them of what's important and what they said they wanted to accomplish. And so for me, man, it's more so listening and just serving as a source of encouragement and being a brother that somebody can call and be transparent and vulnerable with, because there's not a lot of those people in the world that any of us could call on and just be real with.
Real with them, yeah. Ink, I struggle with this, man. I don't celebrate, like my wife gets on me about this all the time. I've had a hard time celebrating the accomplishments because I'm thinking about the next one.
No doubt.
How do you manage that, bro? Like, I struggle with it so much. Like I've gotten to the point sometimes, Ink, where I get frustrated when people celebrate me.
Yeah, you like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, yo, I'm doing what I'm doing.
No doubt.
Man, help me, man. Like, how is it? Do you have any experience with that feeling? And is it a way that you manage that?
Yeah. It's the beautiful dichotomy of what makes those of us that operate in the space and how we operate in it who we are.
Yeah.
Right? Like the elite athlete that Swagu was, and the great, phenomenal dude that he is on television, father, husband, what makes him who he is, right? That mindset and thought process of, all right, man, I accomplished it. I did that. Let's put our head down. Let's keep it pushing.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. Like, let's go. It is. Yeah, that's cool, but let's go. We got more to do. We got more to accomplish. It's that thing in us that makes us who we are, man. But I tell you this, Swagu, man, like, when that pandemic happened and I got on the other side of that pandemic, like, I tell people when the pandemic happened, it was a time for me to self-assess. Like, because we all had so much time, like, we doing the virtual thing, we doing all of that.
Yeah.
But I used it as a time of just self-assessing, right? And when I got on the other side of that pandemic, Swagu, like, even this year, man, one of the things that I said this year, I said, you know what, man, I'm going to enjoy, I'm going to appreciate, I'm going to give myself permission to acknowledge when I accomplish things.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to give myself permission, man, because oftentimes we're not wired that way. We're wired in such a way, and it's great because that's the thing that makes us who we are, right? We're wired in a way of, yeah, that's cool, I accomplished that, let's keep it pushing, and that's great. But I'm going to give myself permission to say, it's just like the 24-hour rule in sports.
Yeah.
When we get the dub, 24 hours, man, celebrate it, appreciate it. Now let's put our eyes on the next opponent.
Yeah.
Like appreciating, celebrating, validating, and then moving on to the next. You know, but it's beautiful, man, because on one end of the spectrum, that's the spirit that makes the warrior.
Yeah.
Right? But it's always got to be interconnected to something else. And that something else is whatever we create and whatever we cultivate. But I get it. I struggle with it too. Bro.
I knew you was gonna have something good for me, man. I'm gonna start taking these moments to celebrate. It always, like, for me, man, my vision and focus, Inc., is always, I want people to have a great experience when they come in contact with me, right? And I'm not talking about like a show or what I do for a living. I want, like, I feel like humans are the greatest commodity that we have on earth. And I think a lot of times what resonates with when I'm listening to you is that I really get a sense that you are pouring into the greatest commodity that we have. Like, we get caught up in the numbers, and we get caught up in the, like I said, the accomplishments and the things that we have or we've attained from the work that we've done. But I think you always keep a centralized focus on the greatest commodity that we have as humans, man. There is a sentiment going on in especially in our country right now, bro, where if I don't agree with you, I hate you. And it kills me, dude. It kills me because, you know, in football, we have this sequence of things, right? Like,
no doubt,
we don't always agree with the defensive call that comes in, but we got to go execute. We don't always agree with the assessment that a coach makes or a scout or somebody else, but we still have to get to the job, and the job can't be done without 10 other people out there. So I take that. I always think about, you know, life in that context. Bro, like, if you, for the audience, how can we navigate past the disagreement without the hate?
No doubt. No, that's real. That's Swagu.
Man.
And the beautiful part about it, man, like you said, bro, like people are amazing, man. Like, people are phenomenal, man. Like, and the dope thing about it is where we come from, our experiences, how we're raised, our thought process, all these different things make up who we are based upon where we come from. And it's one of the dopest things ever. And so me and you can encounter a situation and look at it totally different, but both point of views and both perspectives still hold value. And so for me, man, like, one of the things that got shared with me at a young age, you know, was, hey, man, you can respect a person's thought process without necessarily respecting their thought. Yeah. Right? I can respect how you arrive at that thought. I can respect the thought process because the thought process is shaped by environment, situation, circumstances, people, where you came up from. I can respect your thought process without respecting the thought, right? Yeah. Because your thought process is the thing that shapes you as an individual and make you operate and navigate life the way you operate and navigate life. I ain't got to hate you because we disagree or we agree to disagree. I could just say, hey, bro, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I respect your thought process. Yeah. I don't necessarily rock with the thought. That's cool. But I'm picking up what you're putting down in terms of your thought process. I see how you arrived at that point. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I see how you got there. You know what I'm saying?
I love that I love that, bro. I love that. I'm gonna start. I gotta steal that one from you. I love that, bro, because I've always thought that, like, right? Like, it's even when you have broad conversations or when you having conversations, last podcast I talked about the Tyreek Hill situation, and I said we have to acknowledge that there's a history there that makes people react a certain way to that situation, right? But we also have to take that situation as an individual situation and assess it for what we actually watching. And I think people are having a hard time doing that. So I wanted people to hear you because you interact with so many people. Ink, a fun question.
Yeah.
In a room and you like, how did I get here? Like, have you ever? You threw it out there so casual that I went to speak to Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, right? But life is funny, man, and you end up in when you have the opportunity, you end up in places where you like, am I even supposed to be in here? And I'm gonna give you mine after you give yours. Do you remember a situation where you was in a room and it was people or a place where you was like, man, I'm Inky Johnson from, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Take me
Swagu,
through
man. Bro, I'm gonna be real with you, man. Like I'm in Atlanta, so like it's Chick-fil-A's everywhere, bro. Like everywhere. And I got invited to speak, man. And I was at the headquarters, I meet the Cathys, the family, like, and I'm in there like, man, this is unbelievable. They roll out the red carpet for me, Swagu. I'm talking about they treat me first class. Like, and I just never thought coming up where I came up, the journey I've traveled, that I'll be on campus headquartered at Chick-fil-A with the Cathy family. Like, that was one of the most fulfilling and like phenomenal experiences. Like, I'm talking about behind the scene, everything, man. Phenomenal, Swagu. Talking about phenomenal.
Dude,
what about you?
I was in so this is the first year, bro. They finally decided to invite me so I wouldn't embarrass nobody. But I went to we have this thing called Disney Upfront. And it's like all departments of Disney gets together, ABC, the movie department, ESPN. And it was my first year going, bro. And I walk into, there's a waiting room, Ink, before you take pictures. So we were there with Monday Night Countdown, introducing Jason Kelsey and letting people know the show was coming and the new vibe and everything. And Ink, I walked in that room, bro, and I saw Angela Bassett.
Oh.
And I was thinking to myself, like,
yeah,
man, it ain't no way in hell I'm supposed to be in the same room with Angela Bassett, man. I called my wife. I turned into one of them. I'm talking about, babe, you ain't gonna. I called my wife. I was like, babe, you ain't gonna believe.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just looking at her, and I'm looking at her aura, bro, and I'm like, this is Angela Bassett, man.
Got it.
But that was one of those situations, bro. And then later on, Ink, I got doubled up. Later on, it was like an after party, bro. I walk in there, and the first person I see is Whoopi Goldberg.
Ooh-wee.
And I was like, this been a day.
You there.
Bro, this been a day, bro. It's been a day.
As they say, you out of here. You out of here.
So it was, but it make you appreciate it, right? Like,
no doubt.
It's funny, we was talking about celebrating the wins. It's stuff like that reminds me, like, man, you've been working. Like, you've been doing something. You've been doing something that's not only of value, but people appreciate, bro. And I'm telling you, man, Ink, I don't know. I know a lot of people tell you, bro, and I know you run into a number of people and give me your flowers, dude. The impact that you're making on this world, the impact that you're making on communities and circles that I'm in, but everybody's in, the things that you're doing is needed, it's valuable, it's something that I don't feel like fabrically now we can live without. As a community of people that watch Inky Johnson, watch you go through life and not complain, watch you take care of your beautiful family, but also inspire the world. Dude, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming and joining this podcast, bro. You my first guest. And I could not see it any other way, man. So we just want to thank you, dude. And I can't wait to get to Atlanta so we can go bust up whatever place that you take me and meet the family and you meet my family, bro. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Swagu, man. It's nothing but love and respect, bro. I appreciate what you represent. I appreciate how you do what you do. I appreciate how you navigate, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Respect, my brother.
I got one last thing, dude. You got to give me an NFL prediction. Give me your AFC, NFC, and Super Bowl champ.
Man, can I just give you one, Swagu?
All right,
I got to ride. I want to give you the champ. It ain't gonna be popular. Don't nobody believe it. You know what I'm saying? It's far-fetched. I'm telling you that right now. It's far-fetched. But Gerard Mayo for the New England Patriots is my dog, Swagu.
Okay.
18 years old. You know what I'm saying? Roommate.
The ties that bond.
That. I seen it back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I want to say, man, I want to put it out in the airways. I'm going to just put it this way. He going to do a lot better than a lot of people think him and the Patriots going to do.
That's love.
That's what I'm going to say. And I stand on that.
I appreciate you, brother. I believe it too, man. I believe it too. Give the family my best, bro. Give the family my best. You be safe on that road, man. Keep building these bridges and inspiring us. Inky Johnson, ladies and gentlemen.
Love, Swagu.
3 things I want to hit real quick before we tap out on the Swagu Podcast, episode 4. Like, subscribe, follow. Wayne responded. Wayne said he was hurt. This is Lil Wayne not getting the halftime show at the Super Bowl. We talked about that the previous podcast. Wayne said he was hurt, but the fans and the people that listened to him lifted him up. I'm glad we could do that, Wayne. I hope that you still have some part in the Super Bowl. I'm not going to get off that shield with it. 2 icons, 2 legends we lost. Frankie Beverly from the phenomenal group, Frankie Beverly and Maze. I was hearing that music while I was in my mama's stomach. I heard it at every family function. I heard it at weddings. I heard it at parties. I heard it at family reunions. Frankie Beverly, you are the soundtrack to my community, to the people that I grew up with and the places that I've been. Rest in peace, good sir. Your music will live on forever, and I will continue to listen to it. I used to actually listen to Frankie Beverly before football games because it just gave you such a good vibe about what you were about to do. Secondly, we lost another icon and a legend. Don't want to end it with bad news. I want to celebrate him. James Earl Jones, the golden voice, the voice of Mufasa, probably, that everybody knows him. Coming to America, the father, My Son Works. And for anybody that knows me, voiceover work is one of my dreams. It's one of the things that I want to do. James Earl Jones has been a huge inspiration in that. I don't think he can ever be duplicated. James Earl Jones, rest in peace, sir. Thank you for leaving your life's work. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. And if you haven't seen it, try to find his Broadway play, Fences, when he was the father in that Broadway play. James Earl Jones, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Lastly, family, y'all rocking with me. This is episode 4 of the Swagu Podcast. I can't thank you enough. I appreciate you. And like I said in the intro before we started these, we're going to agree, we're going to disagree, we're going to laugh, we're going to get mad, we're going to get sad. But more importantly, we just want to have a human experience. We want to move the needle when it comes to each other, further our love for the greatest commodity, which is human beings. Again, shout out to Inky Johnson, man. I can't thank him enough for coming through and gracing and blessing the Swagu Podcast. This is EP4, Mad Love. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.